Hurry up. Ready, old giggle water and quilt? You say? No boulder dash or baloney here.
Cheers, everyone, and welcome to the Unfiltered Gentleman. No matter how you take your hooch, we've got something ice cold and on tap. Now, serving it to you straight and unfiltered, here are Greg, Scott, and Dan.
Yeah, that's us.
That's right.
We're Greg, Scott, and Dan.
Yes, we are.
Sounds like it.
Which one am I again?
We'll figure it out eventually. Welcome, everybody. It's the Unfiltered Gentleman. Here's where we figure the part out. I'm Greg. That's Scott.
That's me, right?
Yeah, that's you. Yeah, and that's Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Whoa. Whoa. Very nice.
That's two woes for the price of one there.
Whoa, dude.
You're welcome.
You got a Keanu woe and a Joey Lawrence woe.
Nice.
Absolutely. Welcome in, everybody. Unfiltered Gentleman. Very special show for you today. We're going to be talking with Tim from Five Threads Brewing and just a couple of few. There's a few items of business that I had to get through before we got to that, though. God damn, I feel like an asshole. I forgot a couple of things last week.
Oh,
man.
We need to make up for it. That's why we're here. First of all, we are drinking. I can't not talk about this.
nope.
We'll have a little
Grab your libations.
underneath.
Yeah, grab them.
Thanks to Elvia, our official groupie. She recommended, suggested, and quite frankly insisted that we tried Stone's Unapologetic IPA.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're trying it now. Guess what? It's delicious.
Yes,
We're
it
not
is.
sorry.
Thank you, Elvia.
Not even a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Very lemony. A lot of lemongrass.
Yeah, you could smell that right off the get-go.
Mm-hmm. It's got a nice little bitterness to it, but it's not too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Yes. I mean, Stone never does anything bad.
They don't let you down.
Never. Let's see. Let me see. What do we got here? A little tropicalness.
Yes.
Beer Advocate gives it an 89. The Bros have not had it. They suck.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, bros.
8.8%. That's not too bad.
Gotta get on that with those ratings, yo.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, the finish is real tropical fruit-ish. Mm-hmm. A little hoppy on the front.
Very,
Tropical fruit on
yeah,
the
it's
back.
got like a citrusy taste for sure.
Yeah. RateBeer.com has it overall 97 and 91 for style. IBUs are 90. It does not drink like a 90 IBU beer.
No.
Mm-hmm. I hate, the one thing I hate about Rate Beer is it gives you the estimated calories. Shut up.
Yeah, come on.
We don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
Hell no.
That's not necessary.
Oh, this is good.
I'm getting fat off of everything else. I don't need to know
Yeah.
that beer's making me fat too.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Oh, God, this is good.
It's good
Read the
stuff.
bottle.
Did you
Sorry.
say that was 90 IBU?
90.
Wow.
Nice.
A little surprising.
It doesn't taste like it.
No, not at all. So Stone Unapologetic IPA. It's good stuff. Do try it. All right. So some things that I can't believe we forgot to get to last week. I feel like such an asshat. Vin Scully's last game
man.
was a few days before we recorded last week's
What an
episode.
asshole.
Oh, God.
God damn it.
He was like my grandpa. He's the sound of summer, and I hate to admit it, but I actually shed a couple of tears in his final broadcast.
Hell yeah. I did too.
Takes a real man to admit it.
I mean, I'm a little bit older than
A
you
lot
are.
of it. Yeah.
And that's all you can remember is Vin, ever since I was a kid. When
Right.
I was like 8 or 9 years old and I started getting into baseball.
There's no other Dodger announcer.
No.
They don't exist.
Nope.
He is the Dodger. I mean, he started in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about. So,
And when he was a kid, he was a Giant fan. Can you believe that?
well, try not to hold it against him.
Yeah.
But it was very cool. He got to go out against the Giants.
Yeah, that's when I was able to stop crying when he said that.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's when I started crying. You know, when I started crying was the game was over. The Dodgers lost. Shocking. And right before he recapped the game, then they went to a video package of his life and career and whatnot, and then they came back to him. And before they went to that video package, he was summarizing the game and he was saying something about it being his last broadcast and thanks for having him. And he cracked. His voice cracked.
Yeah.
And you could just hear, and that's when I lost my shit and tears kind of very slowly rolled down my face. And my girlfriend was on the couch. She goes, "Are you crying?" No, shut up. And then they played the video package. That made it much worse. And then he came back, and he had this to say to everybody, if it'll play.
You know, friends, so many people have wished me congratulations on a 67-year career in baseball, and they've wished me a wonderful retirement with my family. And now, all I can do is tell you what I wish for you. May God give you for every storm a rainbow, for every tear a smile, for every care a promise, and a blessing in each trial. For every problem life seems a faithful friend to share, for every sigh a sweet song, and an answer for each prayer. You and I have been friends for a long time, but I know in my heart that I've always needed you more than you've ever needed me. And I'll miss our time together more than I can say. But you know what? There will be a new day and eventually a new year. And when the upcoming winter gives way to spring, rest assured, once again, it will be time for Dodger baseball. So this is Vin Scully wishing you a very pleasant good afternoon wherever you may be.
Is he not the classiest person
Oh
ever?
my God,
Big
dude.
time.
Should I pass around the Kleenex now?
Oh man,
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Wordsmith, man.
He's a poet.
That's
He is.
amazing.
Yeah.
You know, one thing he said before that is during the game. He was like quoting somebody, but he said, "Don't be sad that it's over. Just be glad that it happened." You know, talking about his career.
Mm-hmm.
And like, wow, that's.
He also
you know,
said,
Beer.
and that's what was
Yeah.
my favorite part.
right.
That's
yeah.
I
That's
stopped
really
crying
what
after that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really hard to watch and listen to, and I felt like a snobbling bitch, which was unfortunate. But
Yeah, we'll miss him. Yeah.
it's easy to say that your local team broadcaster is the best in the world, but we really
Right.
have had the two best
true.
in the
Oh,
world.
exactly.
I mean, Chick was taken way too soon.
Yeah.
That was sad.
Yeah.
And now we've lost Vin. But at least Vin, 67 fucking years.
I know.
Right.
Jesus. And he's the smartest person in the world. That whole like West Coast deal he's got where he doesn't fly past the Rockies.
Oh yeah,
God,
nice.
what a genius.
No kidding.
What a fucking genius.
No kidding.
Man.
I'm jealous.
And every other game that I've watched since then, were like playoff games or whatever, all the other announcers have brought him up. I mean,
How could you not?
yeah, he was the best.
It's true.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, how spoiled we were in this area to
man.
listen to, like you said,
Vinny,
like to say like, we have the best, but we really had the best. I mean,
Yeah, and everyone will tell you that too.
Yeah.
I mean, every broadcaster.
everybody will tell you Chick
Yeah.
Hearn and then Vin Scully, and it's
Mhm.
like, that's it, man.
Yeah. Not so much Stu.
I like Stu. I was just thinking
Stu's an idiot.
I was thinking that on the way up here. I was thinking I learned so much about basketball listening to Stu Lance.
What?
Yeah, I mean he's always
Master of the obvious?
no. he
See what happens when you pass the ball to the other team, that's a turnover.
Yeah, he used to say stuff like, when you think you hurt the team, and like, as far as like guarding the inbounds, how you have to be inside the paint, and so
Yeah.
many times you think like, he's been saying it for years, and so many people are like guarding outside. And sorry, I turned this into it's about Stu Lance instead of about Vin Scully, but I don't know. He's a pretty good basketball mind too. But as far as like the voices, obviously is Chick Hearn and Vin Scully.
I feel like Stu Lance is an extension of Magic Johnson.
No, he's not that obvious.
If you swat the ball away and it goes out of bounds, you got to pass it in.
No. You gotta listen to him next time, man.
Oh, I do.
He's preaching.
Oh, yeah. Preaching to the Magic Johnson choir.
No.
Yeah, poor Stu.
and another guy that retired the same day as Vinny was Dick Enberg, who is,
Way to pick a day to retire.
I know, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And Dick Enberg was. I mean, I remember way back when he announced Angel games, and he was on TV for a while. Probably the downfall of his career was he ended up announcing games for the Padres.
Ouch.
And so that's why he retired. Nobody ever knew about it.
Right.
He was another great announcer I used to really like.
Yeah, I just hope that if the Dodgers make it anywhere this year. Oh God. Anyways, like I was saying,
They're
hopefully
already out. So I mean,
at the time of this, it's
not over yet.
Recording, we may not know. At the time of the release, they're probably done. Yeah, they only won one against the Nationals.
yeah.
Let's see how accurate that is.
Oh man.
Assuming that's not correct, hopefully Vinny comes back for a World Series game. How could he not?
He said he
have to.
won't.
I know he said that, but
You'd
World
have to.
Series,
You'd have
I could
to.
see not coming back for the playoffs because it's pretty safe to say they're not going to make the World Series. But you got to come back for the World Series if they make
It
it.
might be nice, but we'll see.
Even if just an inning of World Series baseball.
I
You
say
have
even
to.
if it's next year or the year after, if he's still around and he can call a game,
Yeah.
and they make the World Series, he's got to call one.
Who else is going to talk about socialism?
Or beer.
Yeah.
Beer.
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah, I loved his socialism call. Anyways, sorry for the,
That was good.
the diatribe on Vin.
Yeah, we're locals. What can I say?
Yeah. Get the Kleenex out. In the meantime, let's listen to the Beer Girl talk about some tasty beers. What's this? A broad drinking beer? Must be a she devil.
All right, it's October, so let's do a pumpkin beer. Pumpkin beers seem to have the craft beer world divided. Some people love them, some people hate them. There doesn't really seem to be any in between. I am definitely team pumpkin beer. I love me some pumpkin beers. The one that I'm drinking today is from Shipyard Brewing Company, and it's called Pumpkinhead. Shipyard is based out of Portland, Maine. They have a bunch of good beers. This one is their seasonal. It pours a deep orange color, very complimentary of the foliage outside. And it smells like a pumpkin pie. The cinnamon and the nutmeg are pretty strong. But I picked this beer in particular because I have never seen so much rage in a beer advocate comments than for this beer. People hate this beer. The bros gave it a measly 41. The official beer advocate score is a 68. One user
Because it's
calls
pumpkin.
it the single worst beer falsely marketed as craft I have ever tasted, end quote. Another user describes it as a nightmare. Now, I don't know what's happening in these guys' lives where they feel like they have to take it out on this sweet little pumpkin beer, but it can't be good. Here's where I may lose some credibility. I really like this beer. I think it's super drinkable. It tastes as good as it smells. It tastes a little more hints of vanilla and a little bit more pumpkin, but it's mostly focused on the spices. I think it's one of those beers where you just have to take a chill pill and not take it too seriously. I respect and admire the art of craft beer, but life is too short for me to pretend that I do not like this beer. I'm about to put on an old man sweater, kick my feet up, drink 6 more of these beers, and watch a scary movie. And maybe throw a shot of Spice Rum in 1 or 2 of those just to keep it sexy. I don't know, what are y'all thoughts on pumpkin beer? Specifically this one, if you get it over there. If not, let me know. Maybe I can send a couple out. See if you hate it as much as Beer Advocate does.
Send a couple this
But
way.
you can decide for yourself. Anyways, until next time, happy drinking. Back over to you guys.
Oh, shit. Assuming she hasn't listened to last week's episode.
Where we shit all over pumpkin.
No, we
beers.
did not. Send us some pumpkin beer. We don't know.
Oh man.
Okay, for the beer girl, I think I'll try to find some pumpkin beer next week.
All
Yeah.
right.
Hey, yeah, and kudos to her.
Gotta
Hey,
try it.
She's saying what she likes. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not in. I like that it wasn't a popular opinion, and it's
Yeah.
getting like
It's-
grilled on
yeah.
the comments and everything. But hey, you like what you like, and you got to go with it.
It could
Yeah.
be challenging.
It could
but
be.
We should try it.
Challenge accepted.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes.
True. Might be some beer
I fear
science
no
time.
beer.
Oh. Except for pumpkin. Oh, God. I hope she didn't listen to last week.
Oh man.
Yikes.
What are the odds of that?
We love pumpkin. Send it our way.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd try it.
We gushed about pumpkins so much last week. It's like she's gonna think, oh, they're just too
But-
much about pumpkin.
That's right.
Having never tried it,
Mm-hmm.
I have to say we'll have to try it at least once.
Right.
I'd give it a try.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not against. I've had pumpkin beer. Some are fine and some are not so fine.
Yeah.
But I've never found one that I've really liked though. So maybe she could.
I mean, she admitted that
Sway
it's not
our-
very popular. So.
Right.
Right. But then she also likes it. So
Yeah.
hey, maybe it's worth a try.
Of course. Anything the beer girl likes, I like.
That's right.
True. She hasn't steered us wrong yet.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's
That's
very
why
true.
I'm like, hey, you know what? Maybe I gotta give it a try.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Do that.
okay. Well, that's enough from us. Well,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
from some of us at least. I think it's time to switch on over to the interview. We cried about Vinny a little longer than we meant to. So for those of you who just tuned in for 5 Threads and Tim, we're sorry about that. But for those of you who are Dodger fans, you are welcome.
Yeah.
I hope you went through many tissues.
Yes.
Anyways,
And cried.
yes, exactly. Wow. too soon. Anyways, we are talking next to Tim from Five Threads Brewing, which you can find at fivethreadsbrewing.com, Five Threads Brewing Company on Facebook. And if you're in the Westlake Village, California area, find the fucking brewery and have some beer. It's delicious.
Yes.
A couple of my favorites. Pantry Porter, the Bliss Double IPA.
Bliss.
Yeah. I think episode 297 of some other show we used to do. It was a few before we finished. It was just you and I. We had the Bliss Double IPA from the growler I brought.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that was good.
That was quite tasty.
Yes,
so.
it was.
Anyways, enough babbling. Let's talk to Tim. All right, everybody, we're here for a very special episode of The Unfiltered Gentleman. I, of course, am Greg. Sitting with me is Dan.
That's right.
That's right. And even better, sitting with us is Tim from Five Threads Brewing. Tim, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me tonight.
Thanks for being with us. I'm not even going to pretend to say your last name. What's your last name?
Last name is Kazules. That's pronounced like without a kazoo, Kazules.
So if you're at a sad party,
Yeah.
you're Kazules.
That's right.
Let's get right into it. Brag a little bit. Tell us about you. I mean, you're the owner, you're the brewer of Five Threads. How'd you get started into all of this?
So I actually came from a biotech background. I was in cancer research and didn't have the PhD, so the career was just starting to hit its plateau. And I decided I needed a little more schooling. So in the evenings, I started taking some MBA courses. Funny thing is, I was living in San Diego and really didn't know anything about craft beer at the time. So my boss takes me to Denver, Colorado, and we're there for a cancer conference. And he says, hey, let's take off a little early and go check out some of these craft breweries in town. I'm like, I like beer.
Yes,
Beer's
please.
great.
There you
Sounds
go.
good. I'm sitting in the Great Divide. I'm drinking a milk stout.
Yeti.
I'm looking at all the awesome people behind the bar, at the tanks, on my side of the bar, and I was just sold. I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do with my MBA and the rest of my life. So immediately came home from that, and the whole world was open to me. And fortunately, I was living in San Diego, and I was going to school at USD right up the hill from Ballast Point.
Oh, perfect.
So that became my first homebrew shop, and my tasting room that I would go to, and tried a lot of Ballast Point beer over the years.
Right.
So yeah, came home, geared the whole MBA towards opening a business, and started homebrewing right away. And my first homebrew was a porter.
Okay.
One of my very favorite styles of beer. And
Oh, absolutely. That's a little bit of a leap to start with a porter.
and so the crazy part was most people start with extract, right? Keep it simple, keep it easy. I've never really done that in my life. So he said, no, I'm going to go straight to all grain, but I don't want to do it on a 5-gallon scale. I want to, test the waters. So I got my kitchen colander out and I lined it with aluminum foil and used that as my mash tun for my very first mash for a 1-gallon brew. And I had this water jug, a 1-gallon water jug. And so after I boiled the wort and everything, it transferred into this in the water jug, and that was my very first fermenter.
Oh, jeez.
And the beer was homebrew, but it wasn't terrible.
Drinkable.
Yeah, it was. There was no major off flavors or anything. So, but that just started the love affair with beer, and lots of iterations over the years since then to get to this point.
So how did you first realize, like, I could probably make money with this?
Well, so sitting in that brewery in the Great Divide, I was like, I could do this. I could run this business. This is not so overwhelming like a big biotech company that is making $1 billion a year, and and it takes huge amounts of capital and know-how from the get-go.
Right.
So brewing does take a good amount of capital and a good amount of know-how, but not nearly as intimidating. So from day one, I always had the idea of opening the brewery, and then it was, can I make a product that's worthy of the market? And, I always had that little voice in the back of my mind, maybe it's not good enough, But then you start, winning awards, and you hear it enough time going and pouring at Beer Fest with the Homebrew Club that, hey, this is the best beer in the fest. And, they're saying it to your face. You don't trust them. But then,
Right.
like, you're standing behind them in line, and they don't realize you're there, and they're telling their friend about it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Oh shit! Maybe I do have something here." So you start hearing that enough times, and you start looking at the expressions on people's faces, and they're like, "Well, maybe I do have something here." But still, even day one, I was like, "Oh my god, are people gonna like the beer? You know, I have it on tap. Are they gonna come? Are they gonna buy it? Are they gonna like the atmosphere?" So I mean, and now there's enough Yelp reviews later, now I'm going to beer fests, and instead of like, "Oh, I've never heard of you," it's like, "Oh, Five Threads, I've heard of you. I really wanted to try it. I've heard really good things about it." And the other brewers are saying, "Hey, Five Threads, I want to get over, try your stuff. I'm hearing good things about it."
That's
And
awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So that makes me very proud.
But you mentioned not knowing are people going to be here day one. You did like a crowdfunding to kind of open this place. So you had to have like a little bit of an idea.
Little bit.
How well did the crowdfunding go in order to get things going?
Well, we set a target of $10,000.
Yeah.
And we ended up raising about $12,500.
There you
go. So, not too shabby. And we were able to use that money to kind of do some of the finishing touches. And if you've been in our restrooms, it's a silly thing to talk about, I guess, but it's kind of an important room in the brewery, the restroom.
I guess
right?
so.
And I don't like going into a restroom and finding paper towels all over the floor and, the walls looking grungy. So we actually kind of took it a step up and did nice tile on the walls. And we have these hand dryers, they're air blowers, or Dyson Airblade thing.
Right.
And it really helps make it look clean to begin with. And so people are a lot more respectful in there.
Interesting.
And so it makes our job at the end of the night a lot better. Like, we don't have to clean up quite the mess that you would in a restroom that looks already kind of grungy.
Yeah, so it kind of sets the tone by starting off nice. They're not going to continue to throw crap everywhere.
And this whole brewery is an experience. I see it. No, we don't just sell craft beer, right? We sell a craft beer experience. And we want it to be a nice, comfortable, inviting experience that you want to come back to, that your girlfriend or your wife wants to come back to.
Absolutely. And that's the hard part, getting the girls to come back in.
Right.
That's true. The bathroom is a very important thing, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have, Persix under the bar, and we have, power outlets under the bar so you can charge your iPhone. And so we've done a lot of those little details. The bathrooms look nice,
Yeah.
And we're serving some pretty good beers from what people tell me. So
absolutely. A little better than pretty good. So why don't we get into the name Five Threads? Why the name?
Sure. So threads is a term we use in blending beers. So you can blend 2 threads of this beer and 3 threads of that beer.
Okay.
And the term threads in blending beer has its origins with the porter, which, again, one of my favorite beer styles. So you used to walk into an English pub and you'd ask for a thread of the ale and a thread of the beer and a thread of the 2 pence. Well, that legend says anyway. And,
you kind of make your own mixture.
Yeah, it was like a beer cocktail right then and there. Yeah. But the bartenders at the brewers got tired of blending the different beers, so they decided one day, I'm just going to make the beer that they're asking for. And they did, and it became very popular with the working class in London at the time.
Okay.
There was a lot of shipping in and out of London, a lot of ships to unload and load, a lot of physical labor, right? And the people that were loading and unloading those ships were called porters. And so they named the beer after the working class that really enjoyed that porter. Anyway, so that's where the threads comes from. And the 5 is for the 5 ingredients in beer. Now, most people think about 4 ingredients in beer.
Right.
Water, malt, hops, and yeast. But they always leave out that last critical ingredient, and that's the craft beer lovers and the craft beer brewers. Without us, there's no craft beer.
That's true. So
we are all the 5th thread, and that really goes into that whole experience that we're selling, the whole craft beer experience.
We talk about that 5th thread, and drinking is a very social thing, and craft beer has become not only huge, but very social. It's like,
absolutely,
grab your buddy, go to the local craft beer place, and whether it's a brewery or just a store, I mean, you're so excited to find your favorite craft beer, on the shelves or on tap. one thing you do really well is like your branding is very good. Like, yes, all right, the Fifth Thread is that person, so people already connect with it. But like, how did you kind of come up with your branding? You do a really good job of that.
I didn't take a lot of marketing classes in college, but I paid attention for a couple episodes or a couple, lectures, and one of the things they really pounded onto us was you really need a story that people want to connect with.
Makes sense.
And it couldn't just be some random story that I didn't connect with. Like, it had to be an honest, thing. And so it took a little time to develop that, but the story of the porter was hands down easy. Like, so
Sure.
Threads was always something, part of the name, always there. And then what drew me into craft beer in Denver, sitting at that bar, was the whole experience that I had. And I didn't, again, just want to sell the beer. I didn't just sell that milk stout I was drinking. I wanted to sell that whole situation where I'm sitting at the bar, people are smiling at me,
Right.
joking next to each other. It was just, I had such an awesome time.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that back with me. So it was always about that. It was always about the people. It was always about the experience. And I've just rolled that into the marketing too. So, and you, water malt hops and you,
Right.
and just rolled and became naturally. It was really just
Yeah, it was kinda
brought it all
perfect.
together.
Yeah, and plus you have good people that work here. They're all friendly. They talk to everybody. You were playing board games with us a couple weeks ago. I
Yeah.
mean, like everybody just hangs out and has a good time. It's
It's the double-edged
nice.
sword about a slow night. So, I love slow nights because I get to sit down and I get to play the board games with you guys.
right.
I hate slow nights because that means that we're not making as much money
Right.
as we should be or could be
Well,
or
it's popping
need to
tonight.
be.
yeah. Tonight's not one of those nights.
Yeah,
It's fantastic out there.
Yeah.
it is.
We're recording this on a Thursday night. Are Thursdays normally like this insane?
Thursdays are usually one of our slower nights, actually. So we're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays right now. Next year we'll have an expansion. We should be able to expand those hours. But right now we're closed Mondays and Tuesdays. So by the time we get to Wednesdays, there's a little bit of pent-up demand. And so we have people saying, oh, I wanted to come by Tuesday, but you weren't open. So I'm here tonight
Yeah.
to get my Bliss fix,
Right.
or Leforia.
Oh yeah.
And so Wednesdays actually have been a pretty good night for us. And then Thursdays and Sundays usually compete. We're kind of slower day on the
Makes
board.
sense.
Sunday's only 5 hours and 1 to 6, and then Thursday, is that kind of right before Friday and right after the Wednesday. So, and we're doing things, but tonight, it's crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Friday night's always our peak night as far as beer sales per hour. And
Makes
then
sense.
Saturday we're open 11:30 in the morning to 11 at night. So not all of those are at peak capacity, and but there's a lot of hours, and it's still a good night for us. So
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple breweries within. I mean, a couple blocks. There's Westlake. There's Fig Mountain. I mean, Fig Mountain's pretty sizable.
who are those guys? I'm just kidding.
It's all garbage.
Just kidding.
Is it more of a rivalry with these guys, or is it like, hey, we're all in this together?
Nah,
we're all against Budweiser. Or
Yeah, I mean, we're craft beer isn't even 20% of the beer market yet. We're
Wow.
still not there yet. So that means that
it seems like it's huge now.
80% of the people out there are uneducated as to what they could be drinking, and are just drinking non-offensive beers. Yellow, fizzy, not offensive
Right.
beers,
Right.
right?
Something that contains alcohol.
Yeah, in some quantity or another. But so there's a lot more people to be educated about what craft beer could be, and we all have our own little angle on it. So Fig has the restaurant next door, and
Right.
they have really nice place. They've got the shiny tanks. It's all prim and decked out. It's amazing what you can do when you have a lot of money and a designer person.
Not your first location.
Not your first location. Your sixth location.
Right.
And they scored in their brewer down there, Nick Bordelin. He's just an awesome guy. and he's actually a regular here.
Oh, there you go.
Which is also a compliment to the beer.
Absolutely.
And then we got Westlake right next door, and they've got this huge space that they bring in live music, and so they become kind of this concert venue that serves the craft beer, and that's kind of their claim to fame. And then they have the ciders and the wine, and so we all kind of fit different market niches, and we all have different regulars come through. But what the best part about it is because we're so close together, people tend to find the other ones when they go to. So, for example, we usually on Friday night have 4 or 5, 6 people drive by my brewery looking for Westlake.
I've been witness to this.
And they say, "Oh, my friends are waiting for me, but I'm definitely coming back to try you out next time." And, it's great. So we're sharing our marketing, right? The other thing that we benefit from is now we're so close together, the beer tours don't have to spend a lot of gas to get from one brewery to the next. And so they can pack in more breweries in a limited amount of time and keep their people happy. So we've actually been the birthplace of Sip Trip, which is a new beer tour in the Conejo Valley. And so they do tours with us and the other 3 breweries, and LA beer tours. We've even had beer tours come down from Santa Barbara.
Wow.
So we're becoming kind of a beer ghetto, and it's great. It's really good to have that here. And as far as camaraderie goes, the 3 of us, the brewer from Westlake Village, Alex, Nick from Fig Mountain, and I brewed a beer for the city's 35th city celebration.
Oh,
so
that's right.
It's their anniversary this year. And we did a collaboration beer all together. We've been calling it Village Pale Ale.
Makes sense.
Released it October 15th for the city celebration. 6.35% alcohol, 35 IBUs. So we tried to play up the 35s.
Easy to drink.
Yeah.
It won't be offensive to anybody who doesn't like hoppy IPA.
I am going to dry hop the heck out of it, though.
Nice. You did a collaboration with Fig Mountain in the past, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. I can't remember the name of it, but
Lindero Lager.
There we go.
Lindero Lager.
That was really good.
Which was actually an IPA just brewed with lager yeast.
Okay.
Nice red IPA. Fruity, delicious, awesome. And it was my first experience working with Nick on a professional, pimped out system.
Right.
And such an easy day. It was fantastic. And contrasted my day here.
Make somebody else do all the work.
Yeah.
So we talked about the social aspect of Five Threads, the person aspect. But what about the beer makes you different than the other craft breweries?
So what I like to do with my beers is really push forward only 1 or 2 of the ingredients and highlight them.
Okay.
So our Serenity is a Belgian Golden Strong.
Delicious.
Very simple grain bill, right? It's Pilsner malt and some white sugar. That's it. So there's not much going on there.
Right.
Hopping, a little bit of halotau in the very beginning. That's it. But it's got a lot of flavor, and so that comes from that third ingredient, the yeast. The yeast really pushes forward the pear and the Belgian spice, and it makes this very simple recipe into something really unique and powerful. And so we focus on that ingredient, on the yeast, and really bringing the 5th element in. I'm changing the temperatures in order to get the character from that yeast. So I'm letting it rise all the way up to 81 degrees. And for homebrewers out there, that's a high temperature for yeast fermentations. So I'm manipulating this yeast and trying to coax out all that it can give us. And in the end result is this really nice 9% Belgian Strong.
Yeah.
Bliss is all about the hops. It
Absolutely.
dominantly Cascade. You have 4 other hops layered throughout to support that Cascade. Our Pantry Porter is all about the malt. We have 5 different roasted malts layered through there to get a really malty, complex roast with a little bit of caramel, supporting it. So I don't necessarily like to go gimmicky with my beers. I like to go clean and pure and really just the most well brewed beer that I can put out.
You're not looking to kick people in the face with their IBUs.
Well,
per se. Not just for the sake of it.
well, we did do Craig's
Well,
Nirvana.
there is Craig's Nirvana. It's like 200 and something.
It's 250 IBUs.
Oh, I gotta check that one out.
And it's 12%.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's triple IPA.
Well, and that's kind of what I was wondering too. Is like it's got to be like a delicate balance with the ingredients and everything. Like, because if I was doing it, I'd be like, okay, this tastes great. Can I make it taste better?
Yeah.
And probably mess it up. You know what I mean? So
you do have to. More is not always better.
right.
More is not always better, unless you're talking about hops.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then it's just a matter of knowing where to put them and which varieties. And Craig's Nirvana, we had I think 8 pounds of hops per barrel that we used.
Wow.
So it's like really 4 times what we normally put in an IPA.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So maybe that was just the dry hop actually, but it was a lot of hops. But
Yeah.
so again, that beer I find with triple IPAs, oftentimes there's too much of a malt backbone. It's too sweet. Getting that 12%, the alcohol itself gives you a sweetness. So you
Right.
don't want too much of a malt backbone there.
Right.
So you got to keep it really dry. And we did that with Craig's Nirvana.
Oh, okay.
We've had people are comparing it to Pliny the Younger all the time. And
Yeah, it's delicious.
it's,
It's definitely a sipping beer. Yeah, that's for sure.
I had a 32-ounce growlette the other night after I got home in the safety of my own
Yeah,
house.
drink responsibly.
And it definitely has a kick to it.
Very
There you
nice.
go. So you said the first beer that you had done was a porter. Well, what would you say is like the most fun beer to make?
So the most fun beer that I've made so far was actually a kettle soured Berliner Weiss.
The
You guys
hell?
have you heard of kettle souring before?
No.
So
Kettle sour.
you've heard of sour beers, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, normally
Yes.
what you do to make a sour beer is you brew the beer like you would normally, and then sometimes you ferment it out, or sometimes you add your yeast and your souring cultures at the same time, right?
Okay.
Well, and then you put the beer. Eventually, it makes its way into a barrel, and it sits there for 6 months or a year. And the souring cultures will slowly eat away at the remaining sugars, and they'll create lactic acid and a little bit of acetic acid.
okay.
So kettle souring is a way of doing this 6 month year process in about the same time you would brew a normal beer. And so what we do is we start with our normal mash. So you add water in the grain, and you get all the starches and sugars extracted.
Right.
And then you pump that over to your boil kettle, and you boil it like you normally would, except instead of boiling it for the full 60 minutes and adding hops and everything, you add no hops. You stop at about 10, 15 minutes, and the point of that boil is just to sanitize the wort and kill anything that's in there. Right?
Okay.
Some people will actually just not even boil it and let the native flora and fauna that's on the grain, do the souring.
Sounds a little dicey.
But it's very dicey. So yeah, Jamil Zainashev said, "Well, if it doesn't work out, the snails will enjoy it." I prefer to sell my beer instead of feed it to the snails.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so we do the sanitizing first with the boil, and then we add our own specific cultures of souring agents. So, sorry, we're in close
Close quarters over
close
here.
quarters over here. All right, so we added what's called Lactobacillus delbrueckii and Lactobacillus brevis, 2 different Lactobacillus strains, and those we kept the beer at about the wort at 105 degrees.
Okay.
Over the course of about 36 hours. And during that time, the Lactobacillus dropped the pH by creating lactic acid, which is the same process as you would normally do. They just
Right.
did it a lot faster. It's a Berliner Weiss, so it's meant to be a crisp, clean, sour beer. And that was the end. Anyway, I'm getting away with myself. So let it do the sour, 36 hours, and then you boil it again. And this time we're killing all that lactobacillus because we don't want to contaminate the rest of our brewery.
Makes sense.
sour bugs.
wow.
Yeah.
So boil again. Now this time you boil it like normal, and then the rest of the process is just like normal. You add the hops, and you then chill it, and then you add the yeast, and it does its fermentation. But the end result is now you have a refreshingly tart Berliner Weiss instead of just a normal wheat beer.
Interesting. Never heard of that before.
Yeah.
That's kind of
a
cool.
process.
It's a little bit of a process, but it was a lot of fun because I actually took the stack, the steam stack,
Right.
off of the kettle, and covered that over with aluminum foil because we
Okay.
didn't want any other bacteria falling into the kettle during this 36 hours. And unpitched wort, it's a great media for growing a lot of bugs. any kind of bacteria or wild
Yeah.
yeast. It's a great growing substance. So we didn't want any other bugs getting in there. Only the ones we added. So
Right.
so it was different. It was the most different brew that I've done.
Sounds very time-consuming, laborious.
Right.
It was kind of fun breaking up the brew day over 2 different days because normally, it's not the most automated, refined,
Right.
system I have here. It's very hands-on. So brewing one batch of beer from beginning to end of cleaning is a good 10-hour process. So
Wow.
with this thing, I was able to do the mash and the runoff, and that right there is a 3-4 hour process. So, and then I get to stop.
Oh.
And then come back to it 36 hours later, 2 days later, and finish up. So it kind of broke it up, and it was kind of cool. But yeah, now I've got a boil kettle full of hot wort for the course of 24 hours, 36
Right.
hours, and that's not always the best, but but I'll do it again. I think it was a lot of fun. I think it turned out a really good beer. Yeah.
Did people like it?
Yeah, it's really fun at Beer Fest because so the name of that beer is Heidi's Promiscuous Sister.
Oh, yeah.
And people say, "Oh, that's funny," and then why do you call her promiscuous? I say, "Well, because she's a little tart."
Yeah.
So that's my bad sense of humor, but
Makes
but it's a
sense.
lot of fun at Beer Fest, especially as the day goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some listener questions sprinkled in throughout.
Oh, fantastic!
Shannon wants to know, what would you say to new craft beer drinkers or people that just kind of walk in the brewery and say, like, oh, I don't like beer? Like, how do you handle that situation?
So we do handle that situation.
I imagine.
And we are in Westlake, and there's a lot of wine drinkers, and so
Right.
we have people come in with their friends, and they're like, "Oh, no, I don't drink beer." And it's like, "Well, when was the last time you tried? Have you tried a craft beer?"
Yeah.
No, I haven't tried one. Well, let me give you this Serenity to taste. I mean, because you like flavor, right? And they're like, "Well, yeah, I like flavor."
Of course.
So, well, try the Serenity. It's a Belgian beer. It's not overly bitter. It's got pear-like flavors. It's got a little bit of floral notes to it. It's almost cider-like, and it's
Yeah.
gluten-free. So, well, gluten-reduced, but in all.
Which is very popular around here.
Yeah. So I'll often start them with that, and about 75% of the time, they'll say, "Oh, I like that. I didn't think I liked beer, but this I like," and that actually happens a lot, about 75% of the time. And there's usually something I can find for the newbies. So it's just a matter of, because a lot of people think beer and they think, that they still, to this day, yellow fizzy water is beer. The Corona they had in college,
Beer pong.
Yeah, or the Miller Lite.
Right.
Yep.
So, and that's their whole experience with beer. So they just don't know about the full range of flavors that are out there. So sometimes you just need to break the ice and get that beer into their mouth.
Yeah, it makes sense. Piggybacking on that, what is the most annoying thing you've encountered since opening the brewery?
Uh-oh.
Every once in a while, and it's declined, but in the very beginning, we would have people come up and say, "You know what you need to do, Tim?"
Not listen to you.
No kidding.
And sometimes it was good advice, but oftentimes it was like, Well, have you thought about, these 10 reasons why this may not work in this situation? And usually it's like, oh, how many breweries have you opened successfully and are running? And usually it's like, oh, no, I don't even homebrew. It's like, okay.
All right.
Oh, thanks for the advice, And again, sometimes it's great, but a lot of times it's like, oh, my gosh, here we go again.
Oh, man.
So that's declined over the course of the year because
That's
things are going well.
You're
But
kind of proving yourself.
yeah. But we still get, advice, and sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's unwanted. But, you deal with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
How did you decide on which beers to brew?
So I am the kind of guy that can walk into a bar 20 times, and each time the bartender will say, "What is it this time?" So I'm not really a regular, right? So I've homebrewed and always tried the new thing. Like, let me try something new that I haven't tried yet. So I'm always looking for, I haven't done this style yet, or I'll be out at a beer bar and I'll taste something completely new and be, oh, that's really good. I want to brew mine. It's like, I want to drink more of that. So I'm going to go home and I'm going to brew it.
This would be even better if.
Yeah. So all the beers I brew, obviously there's a commercial decision to be made. And that's why we have 4 or 5 IPAs on at any one time, usually. Because they sell still like half of the beer sales are always IPAs.
Right.
But I like IPAs, so that it works out.
There you go.
But then I also enjoy the full spectrum of beers, and so I try and have something from the various groupings on the board at all times. Haven't done any lagers yet. We did make our version of a lager, but I'm on the West Coast, right? So you dry hop it and you put lots of hops in it.
Yes, please.
So I took a Bohemian Pilsner recipe and I brewed it like it was a West Coast IPA.
That's how we like it out here.
Because so that's our closest thing that we got to a lager. That and our cream ale Game Day Blonde. Which is essentially a lager, American lager recipe, but brewed with an ale yeast. So.
Okay. Talk about brewing. What's a typical day for you as far as just brewing a batch of beer?
So it starts about 2 weeks ahead of time, maybe 3, by ordering up the grain. We have that arrive. We've kind of started milling our own because I'm liking the crush a little better, but I'm using this rinky-dink milling setup with a nice drill I got from Home Depot and my old home
Got the
brew
Makita drill
mill.
going.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
It works.
And it's getting it done, but it takes about 2-3 hours for each batch of grain, so that it's not the long-term solution.
Right.
But it's been fun to play around with the crush and see the differences in efficiency and whatnot. And also, then I can get whole grain shipped to me instead of having the pre-crushed shipped to me. So it costs less. It comes from closer. It gets here faster. So there's a lot of perks to having it come uncrushed.
Sure.
So it starts with the ordering the grain. And then I usually get in... I've got 3 kids, so this whole 5 a.m. brew day start thing is not happening at all. So usually I'll drop the kids off at school, come in, and then the day before I've had everything is set up. I have all the hoses connected. I've got the hot water and hot liquor tank, so we're ready to go, right?
Okay.
The grain's out, it's milled, it's ready to be mashed in. So by 9 o'clock, we're usually starting the mash in. And if we're firing on all cylinders, we're finishing the transfer by about 4:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a good 8-hour day, and then there's about an hour or 2 of cleaning after that.
Okay.
So it starts by doing the mash. We have a 3-step stool. So we pick up the 50-pound bag of grain. We walk up the 3 steps. We dump it in the mash tun. We get the mash paddle, and we stir that baby in. We're adding water the whole time. And so mash in takes about 30 to 45 minutes to actually get all the grain and the water into the mash tun. And then we let it sit for 60 minutes. Meanwhile, we're testing the pH and adjusting the pH with minerals and with phosphoric acid.
Okay.
if we're doing a dark beer, we use lime, calcium hydroxide. So then, sits for the hour. The mash does its thing. Check the pH, and then we transfer it over to the boil kettle. That transfer process on our system takes almost 2 hours to really get it out there in an efficient manner. So we're extracting everything that we can on our system. So it's about a 2 hour transfer. By the time we get to the end of the 2 hours, we're pretty close to boiling.
Okay.
Which is good. So then we add the hops. 60 minutes is bittering. Later additions are for flavor and aroma. And we'll just do about a 30-minute whirlpool, so 10 to 15 minutes actually whirlpooling, and then you let it stop, and everything drops down and forms the cone in the bottom. So that process is about a half hour, and then with the knockout takes us about 25-30 minutes to go from the kettle at boiling to the fermenter at 68 degrees, and then we're adding oxygen along the way, and then we add yeast in the top. So
it's quite the day.
Yeah, it's a good day. So,
Is it all you? Do you have any help doing that, or?
I have had a couple of assistant brewers along the way, and either they've moved on to other jobs, or one of them, Cooper, I've actually pushing out in the sales role. So he's selling the beer for me and taking that over for me.
Nice.
So I can be here more. And now I have another assistant brewer. His name is, he's been here 2 weeks. His name is Logan. Sorry. And,
Edit point.
yeah, right. So his name is Logan, and he's working great. It takes time to get everybody trained and on the system, and they come in with different levels of experience. And
Sure.
Mostly I'm doing most of the work, and if I'm not actually doing the work, I'm directing the activities of the day.
All right.
So I'm here on brew day, making sure everything goes right.
Yeah. So you've been open for, we're just about on that year anniversary mark.
October 22nd, we're having our big 1 year anniversary party.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's going to be nice. We're going to blow out in the parking lot. We're going to
Nice.
have a bottle release of our Russian Imperial Stout, but aged on oak and cocoa nibs and vanilla beans.
I still have a bottle in the fridge.
Awesome.
I can't wait.
So that's the unaged version.
Right.
And so this one will be the aged version, our anniversary edition Shrinkoff Stout. We're getting a live band, 6 to 9 that day, and food truck from Farm and Flame should be here starting at 2 o'clock.
Oh, right on.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite the day.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
hoping so.
So how has it been different than you expected? You've been open for a year, like we said. How's it
Right.
been different than you expected?
So when I was writing the business plan, I was thinking, well, hey, I can do it all, right? I can do the marketing, I can do the brewing, I can do all these other things. Yeah, no problem. And you can do any one or two of those things at a time, no problem.
Right.
The problem is there's 20 of those things.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of a scramble sometimes. I have my business partner Neil, and he helps on the sales and with the events, and he helps with the tables that we made and everything, and had a couple investors that helped early on in the tasting room so that we could kind of get our feet underneath us and get some traction in the tasting room.
Yeah.
And now we're at the point where we were able to hire some tasting room staff, and they're great. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
So that helps. But I'm still working 100-hour days because we don't have all the support. Not days, but weeks.
Right. Or days.
They feel like 100-hour
Yeah.
days sometimes.
At least you can drink on the job.
Yeah. Makes that long day even longer sometimes, though.
So I think one of the biggest misconceptions about opening a brewery is people just think like, well, I homebrew, so now I bought the building and I bought the equipment, I'm just going to sell it. Like, what was that process like trying to open up a brewery? Legalities and codes and ABC.
So many times I was not literally, but at least figuratively curled up in a ball, rocking back and forth saying, I just want to brew beer. I just want to brew beer. I just want to brew beer. But that's a luxury. You have to brew beer, but it's all like, wading through all the muck and mire so that you can get to the point where now, finally, all the crap's done. Now I can actually brew some beer.
Right.
Like, that's my week. And consistently. And getting open was just even more of that. So, the contractors have their delays, and the bureaucracy has their delays, and you have to get to the top of the queue, and then they're like, okay, now make these changes, and then you take it back to the architect, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, my electrical engineer is on vacation for 3 weeks, and I don't have a replacement for him. So it's like, okay, well, there's one more month of revenue I won't be having this year.
Yeah. The entire time you're paying rent on the place,
and
right?
you're paying rent on the place, or you've negotiated some free rent, but it's still
right.
time bomb is ticking.
Yeah.
And so you're just watching that bank account go down every month, and no revenue is coming in. And we started with less than $500,000 to get this whole place open.
Okay.
And we did it. But people told me when I was starting, and I was like, oh, no, I can do it better because whatever, I'm superior, and I'll figure out a way. I'll be young
smart.
and scrappy, and I'll bootstrap, and it'll be great. And
work 100-hour weeks.
Yeah. And so really bootstrapping a small brewery, $500,000 is a good number to start with. I wish I would have. So, so some of the best advice I was given that I totally didn't pay attention to was,
Jenga.
Yeah, Jenga. Take a look at, so I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit and add my experience to it. But so take a look at how much money you need to be making out of the brewery to pay your living expenses if you want it to be your full-time job.
Right.
And even if not, like, find out how much money you want to be taking out of it, right? And then you can back calculate how much beer you need to sell between the tasting room and into the market in order to bring home that amount of money.
Sure.
But don't forget, you're going to need to hire a brewer. Like, unless you have a team that is going to handle all the business aspects for you. So if you're brewing, you are brewing, and you can be the head brewer, and you can develop all the recipes, you can order all the grain, you can do all the work, you can do all the cleaning, but that is, a good 40 to 60 hours a week.
Dang.
Just brewing.
Right.
But you got a business to run on top of that. So don't think that you're going to be brewing all the time and running the business by yourself.
Right.
That part's not, it just can't happen.
Right.
So plan in for that brewer, and you're going to pay him, 40 hours a week, and you got to give him, incentives and stuff. So,
sure.
Definitely do that. And then, so hire your brewer, staff your tasting room, because again, you can't be doing all the business stuff and doing all the brewing and be manning the tasting room 40 hours a week. You run out of hours real fast. So, 60 hours of brewing, 40 hours in the tasting room. Okay, you're at 100 hours right there, and you haven't even, done your taxes yet. So, obviously something's got to give. So you get a great tasting room staff, get a great brewer, and at that point you can probably handle it. But you need to factor all that in, figure out what your take home needs to be, back calculate how much beer you need to be making, and that's your starting point.
It's a lot of math.
Yeah. And you can sell it if you have good beer.
Yeah.
If you have a good idea, you can sell the beer. And you might have 20 seats in your tasting room, but there's 1 million seats outside of your tasting room.
Absolutely.
Ready to receive beer. And yeah, the margin's not the same, but you're dropping off 160 pints at a time. And so if you're covering your costs for the rent and your staff by selling beer through the tasting room, all that beer that goes out to the market, now that's your profit. So don't forget about that part.
Yeah.
What I like about the craft brew scene is just the superior taste of the beers, and along with the experience. But I mean, why do you think that the craft brew is just growing so rapidly right now?
I think craft beer breweries have become an alternative to the traditional bar. So we're not sports bars. We're not dive bars. We're not nightclubs. We're something completely different. We're that third place. We're not home. We're not work. We're that place you go in between.
We're even better.
To live life and be with your friends and to socialize.
Right.
And I think it's the new thing that people want to do. I think that's a big part to do with it. I used to describe this business as wine tasting, but for beer.
Sure.
People loved wine tasting. It was a great social atmosphere.
Right.
You get to go out and do it, but you usually had to get a limo or a DD
Right.
or good luck and drive a good distance or a hotel room, to go do wine tasting. But now you can do this wine tasting, this flavorful thing, here in your backyard, and you don't have to go that far. And there are beer tours, and they can take you farther away
Sure.
if you need to. But I think that's a lot to do with it, and I think people are also really picking up on the local movement and the not just in food but in beer and in spirits and in distilled, and we really want to keep things. We want to know where our food and our beer is coming from, right?
Right.
We want to know who's brewing it, and that's the best case scenario. And the brewery provides that opportunity for you to go and look. The beer was made right here in that vessel, right there by these hands over here. This guy did it. I can see where my beer is coming from.
Right.
And it's flavorful. It's delicious. I'm going to take some home and pair it with my dinner tonight. Or, so it's so much more than just a beverage. I think that's a lot of reasons why it continues to grow. And one of the things I wonder is, so it used to be you go to a bar and everybody's smoking, and how much can you really smell and taste in your beer if there's smoke in the air?
Right.
And ever since 2000 or so, smoking's been banned in the bars. So
At least in California. Yeah.
At least in California.
Right.
And so now people are like actually starting to taste things, and I wonder
Wait a minute.
if that is the correlation with this really uptick in wine and uptick in beer and the mixed drinks, because now people are really interested in actually tasting what they're consuming.
What a
That's
thought.
true.
So then what do you think is the biggest barrier to craft beer?
So there are many people out there with money, and there are some people that have good skills in brewing, but the people that have the good skills in brewing don't often have the money or the business sense or the ability to just pour everything into opening a brewery. So it's a capital intensive proposition. Like, you need a lot of money to open a brewery, and or a lot of friends who are willing to put in a lot of time, and so it's tough. Getting the money up front to get started. Most of us breweries start, it's called undercapitalized. Like, we get open, and then there's demand, and then we're ready to grow, and we're like, okay, we need money. And so we end up not being able to grow fast enough to keep up with the demand, and sometimes that really hurts us. You know. So that's tough. Also, hop contracts are not fun at all.
That's especially lately. I hear it's harder and harder to secure contracts.
Some years are better than others, but like some varieties like Nelson, they just don't brew. They don't grow anymore. They this is what we're going to grow, and that's it. And if it's a bad year, then the people at the bottom of the list don't get the hops on their contracts. But all of it's contracted. So you got to get lucky to get some Nelson. So those are kind of big headaches. I think getting enough capital together, and then I think that's the majority of the reason why most people don't open breweries. Is it takes a lot of money, and then. I've had people tell me left and right, like, "Oh my God, you're so brave! You've left your Amgen job, your career. You have 3 children. You have a wife who isn't working. and bringing in money. She's
Right.
raising the 3 children. So like, you're freaking nuts, and they're right. But this is the most fulfilling work that I've done in my whole life, and I think there's a good future for it. So it's worthwhile. But it does take a lot of chutzpah.
Seems to be working out so far.
So far, so good.
There you go. You had said earlier too, and what I like about drinking craft beer is you can taste it and then take it home with you. Afterwards. Some breweries let you take a growler or a bottle later.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best food to have with craft beer?
Well, it depends.
Depends on the beer.
It depends on the beer. It depends on your mood. It depends on what the situation is. Like pot roast and the like goes really well with porters and like barley wines, and it's good for the fall season. So we're coming up on that, and that's on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I like to pair a lot of Belgian beers with what I would pair wine with. So kind of like some French dishes, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Beer goes with all food. You just got to find, cheese is a fantastic pairing. Anything with cheese, you find the right beer, and the flavors just are so complementary. It like bursts in your mouth.
Right. And cheese is usually a pairing with wine.
Right. But it's actually even better pairing with cheese, with beer. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cheese, but cheese paired with cheese. Now
Yeah, I was about to
that's
say,
the best.
There you go.
They go so well together.
We actually have a guy, Alex Oro from Vagabond Cheese Company, and they come out third Thursday of the month, and they do a cheese pairing for us. So he and I will sit down, and he'll say, "Hey, what beers do you want to do this month?" And I was like, "Hey, let's do these 5." And he says, "Great. Here's 3 cheeses that I think would work on the first one." And we taste them. We take a bite of the cheese, and then we taste the beer, and then some of them were like, yeah, that's okay, and then some of them were like, well, that's not really going the way we want, and then we get that third one. It's like, oh yeah, that's the one right there. It's just bursting and popping, and the flavors are just building and piling on top of each other, and it's like magic. It's like little angels dancing on your tongue. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Dale wants to know, do you have any tips or tricks for starting out home brewing?
Sure, yeah. There's a website called howtobrew.com.
Okay.
Read that back and forth, left and right. And then go to your homebrew shop and ask to watch one of their classes.
Okay.
And so they have classes, and they'll walk you through the whole process from the beginning to end. And then really be careful with your sanitation. And then your sanitation.
So you're saying your sanitation.
Right.
And once you got your sanitation down, then you start working on your temperature control.
Okay.
And once you got those 2 things down, then you can start playing with your recipes. You want only the yeast that you want touching that beer to be touching that beer, nothing else, because that's where a lot of the off flavors come from.
Oh, okay.
And then temperature control is where your beer doesn't finish out, or the yeast go a little crazy, make some funky flavors. So those 2 things are key in making great, clean beer.
All right. Mike wants to know, what advice would you give to someone who thinks they want to get into this industry? Besides run.
Well, depends on your situation in life. If you're young and you're just getting out of school, it's a great time to go get a low-paying job at a brewery. You get in, you scrub some kettles, you clean some kegs. All the while you're in there. Maybe if you're lucky, you get to put the mash in the ton and stir it around. But then you're getting a flavor for what day-to-day brewing life is like. And if that suits you, then you can get yourself into a brewing school and you can become a brewer, right?
Okay.
If you love the beer, you love the people, you love the atmosphere, you love recipe creation, but scrubbing kegs isn't really for you, then there's the whole business side of beer. Right. And so that is now your goal in life, to get and find the guy that loves the scrubbing and that part, the fastidious nature of brewing beer. You get that as your partner. So together you get the business side and the creative side, and you're golden.
Nice. Anything else?
And Now we're talking to someone who knows the ins and outs of beer. We need you to help settle a debate here. The never-ending debate, bottles or cans?
Okay, so I'm going to say a well-canned beer, that means no oxygen getting into the can during the process, is the best long-term storage device for beer.
Okay.
That said, I really like bombers. I think there's something to them.
It feels nice in your hand.
It just looks classier. It looks nicer.
It's true.
So my plan is, pie in the sky, everything all said and done.
Right.
I would do my special releases in 22-ounce bombers, especially ones that I want to age and maybe get a little bit of oxidation, like a big barley wine or a Russian Imperial Stout.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to have a little bit of egress from oxygen. By my more off-the-shelf, like, hey, let's take this and we're going to pour it into our glass at home and it's going to be our everyday beer.
Sure.
I'm totally happy with a 6-pack of cans. Or I kind of like the 16-ounce. I think beer should be served in 16 ounces.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I like the 16-ounce 4-packs. That, like, Boddington's is the way to go.
Yeah.
And maybe someday I can get a little widget, too.
Nice. The very last thing I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is can you, it's your choice, choose one beer,
No.
and can we do like a sampling of it? Can you walk us through a tasting?
Yeah, totally.
What do we got here? Walk us through
So
it.
what we have here is our newest Belgian single.
Mm-hmm.
Not brewed this beer before, but I'm planning on brewing a Belgian Dark Strong next.
Nice.
And I wanted to brew a beer to grow the yeast up. So
Okay.
So Belgian single seemed like the right thing to do.
Makes sense.
And needed a name for it, and we had the 5 Shades of Blonde, and so there's a lot of lady names. We've got Heidi. We have Heidi's promiscuous sister. We've got Aria, and so we try and have some fun with our lighter beers. Mm-hmm. And so this one's called "Hey, I'm Single." So we're having a lot of fun with that one. Anyway, this has been on just not even a week yet at this point, and it's kind of a straw colored with a white foamy head, and the aroma. So you get a little bit of you get a little pear in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A little banana, maybe.
Yeah, maybe some banana. Maybe a little bit of pineapple.
Very citrusy.
Yeah, definitely citrusy, and you get a little bit of that spice in the aroma of the nose.
Right.
All right, and then tasting it, you get a much bigger burst of that kind of pineapple character coming through, right?
Yeah, the pineapple comes through much stronger on the taste than the smell.
Yeah, and again, you get kind of that on the side of your tongue. You get that kind of that clovey spice, almost tingle, right?
And a lot of beers, it seems like they don't always taste like they smell, and vice versa.
Yeah, not always.
This seems like you smell it a little bit, and you tasted a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like this is very much an extension of what you're
For
smelling.
sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And when you have the full pour and it's like fresh and you have all the head and everything there, it comes out even better.
Yeah.
So the mouthfeel on this thing, not thick at all, right? It's pretty light, almost effervescent.
Yeah.
Very refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good on a hot day.
6.2%, but crisp, refreshing, effervescent, almost champagne like, not quite to that extent.
Right.
But heading that direction.
Yeah. Definitely good on a hot day. Definitely easy to drink.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I'm really proud of this one. This is the first time I've used this particular yeast strain. It's from White Labs. It's a 545, a Belgian strong ale yeast.
Okay.
And it fermented out really quick. It's not really clearing too fast, but that's okay. It's
A
Belgian.
little cloudy. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, they're traditionally finicky in terms of clearing, and that's fine. But it much faster than the Belgian Golden Strong yeast.
Yeah.
How'd you settle on the name there?
Hey, I'm single. I was just playing around with it, and I said it. I spoke it out loud, and to a couple of different customers, and they all got a little chuckle out of it. I was like, all right, we're running with
That's
this.
the name.
That's it.
That'll do it. Very nice. Before we wrap things up, can you quickly tell us about some of the events? You talked about the cheese and beer pairing.
Yeah.
What other events do you do at the brewery?
Well, this Friday, which would be the 30th, which is tomorrow night. I'm not sure when this
We'll be
podcast
past
is out.
that,
Yeah. Well, so pretty much the last Friday of the month, except for November and December, and in that case, we'll move it up in the month.
Okay.
We do Aloha Night, and for Aloha Night, we have you wear your Hawaiian shirt, and you get $2 off your first pint.
Nice.
Oh, there you go.
Merlin's Kitchen's the caterer up the way. She brings down a Hawaiian themed menu.
All right.
Coconut shrimp and ahi tuna, and
Hey, there you
so
go.
good. And we do 2 special beers that night. We do a coconut porter,
Ooh.
and we do a pineapple bliss.
Nice.
So that's the one time a month we bring those 2 beers out, and it's just a lot of fun. People come and it's festive, and they've got their shirts on, and it's just a good night.
That's pretty cool.
So we got that on the final Friday of the month. We had the cheese night on the 3rd Thursday.
Right.
We're now doing paninis on Wednesdays and Sundays.
Oh, nice.
And there's a new caterer company going in at the corner of my unit. So hopefully they'll be able to do food service on Thursdays and Saturdays. So that'll be fun.
There we go.
And then I mentioned on the 22nd, we're doing our 1-year anniversary.
Right, October 22nd.
Party. So big bottle release. We're going to redo our Kickstarter campaign. We're not going to do it on Kickstarter, but we're going to do it just on our own.
Okay.
And we're going to offer 3 different society memberships. We're going to have a growler society, a bottle society, and a pint society.
Okay.
Be $100 for any one of them, or we'll do a discounted rate for all 3. And we're still working on the final pricing. But the bottle society, you get this bottle holder, and maybe you've seen it up front, but it's wooden, handcrafted. Bottle holder holds 4 bottles.
Nice.
It'll come with 3 bottles of Schrenkoff Stout and 2 of our anniversary glasses, assuming we can get them ordered and shipped on time. I think I've realized my task for tomorrow. And then when we have bottle releases, A, you're first in line to be able to buy them.
Okay.
B, you can buy 2 more than the normal limit.
Oh, nice.
Or if it's an unlimited run, you can get a 25% discount. So you can actually buy 3, get the 4th one free.
Okay.
The Growler Society, it's one of our black stainless steel double wall growlers.
And they're super nice.
Yeah,
I wish I would have gotten in on the Kickstarter.
here's your next chance.
I know.
So that'll be $150, but for the life of the growler, it's 20% discount on growler fills. And usually for that first year, we'll give an increased discount on growler fills.
Okay.
So I haven't decided what that final number is going to be, but it'll be more than 20%. And then for the Pint Society, instead of doing like a mug club where you hang your thing on the wall and there's limited space and
Right.
you got to worry about all the dust and cleaning and breakage.
Not breaking people's mugs.
And not breaking people's mugs. And I'm a variety guy, right? I want to drink 2 or 3 different beers when I'm in a place.
Sure.
Right.
So I don't want to put all my eggs in one 20-ounce mug.
Correct.
We're going to do happy hour pricing all year long for members of the Pint Society.
Oh.
So our happy hour right now is Wednesdays and Thursdays from 3:30 to 5:30, and
Right.
any beer on the menu is $5.50, including our big beers like Craig's Nirvana 12% triple IPA. That one is normally $8 for a 12-ounce pour. Be $5.50 for a 12-ounce pour.
Nice.
So as a member of the Pint Society, you get happy hour pricing throughout the year.
Wow.
Anytime
Make
you
that
come
money
in.
back pretty quick.
Yeah.
There you go.
So our regulars definitely, if you're coming in every
Yeah,
week,
definitely.
not a problem. So I think that's kind of fun way of kind of giving back to our people and giving them, a reward for coming in on a regular basis.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So.
And lastly, how do people find you?
So You can find us on Google. We're on Facebook, or we got our website. But we're located in Westlake Village. We're right across the street from the Four Seasons on a street called Via Colinas. So if you're driving on the 101, you'd exit on Lindero Avenue and you'd go north. So if you're coming from the north heading south, you'd turn left and go back across the freeway.
Right.
And the first major stoplight on Lindero after you exit that overpass is Via Colinas. If you turn right, you go down to an In-N-Out Burger, and you go down to the Target Shopping Center at Fig Mountain. If you turn left, you turn towards us and the Four Seasons. We're like the third complex on the right. There's some grass patches out in front. There's a tree with lighting on it. And most importantly, right now, there's green awnings out in front of the shopping center. So
For
it's
the time being,
there's parking down the middle of the thing. So if you're looking on your right and you see lots of places to parking, drive in the middle. We're on the right-hand side.
Yep.
Perfect.
Look it up.
If you guys can't remember, we'll have links all over our social medias and our websites and everything, so you can find it. Make sure if you're coming through the Westlake area, which I know what you're thinking, Westlake, why would I stop there for beer? You should absolutely stop here for beer.
Definitely.
There's many options. Make sure you check out Five Threads. Tim, thank you so much
My pleasure.
for taking the time and
Anytime.
going
Thank
through all
you.
this. And yeah,
Look forward to listening to the podcast.
absolutely. Cheers, my
All
friend.
right, guys. Cheers.
All right. Thanks again to Tim from Five Threads Brewing. FiveThreadsBrewing.com is where you can find the website, Five Threads Brewing Company, on Facebook. Also on Twitter and Instagram if you want to find them on the social medias. We have many pictures of Five Threads beers up on our social medias. Don't worry about finding those. They're everywhere. Anyway, so thanks again. Check them out. Don't forget to check us out. TheUnfilteredGentleman.com on Facebook's Unfiltered Gentleman on Twitter. It's at Unfiltered Gents because we couldn't quite fit. Instagram, the Unfiltered Gentleman. It's hard to talk. They had a lot of beers. Tim was not shy with showing us his beverages.
Nope.
So, anyways, thanks to Tim. Thanks to you guys for listening. And don't forget to spread the love. And on that note, good night, everybody.